We've been talking throughout the show, as we've been talking about all the issues that happened all weekend. Of course, we've been talking a lot about the bombing in Chelsea, a suspect now in custody, and the latest news on this bombing that we're all glad did not cause any fatalities. 29 people injured. Other bombs that they believe are connected to it did not detonate. The latest news is that authorities believe that Ahmed Rahami's family is not connected to this, nor that there are any kind of connections to any other terrorist groups. That's the latest news right now. We spoke with Corey Johnson, city councilman, last hour of the program from Chelsea here in New York City. And now Mark Thompson of Make It Plain is here to talk to me and have a conversation with me, interview me, because I live in Chelsea, and of course his show comes on right after this. So this is kind of one of these crazy things where he's going to interview me on my show, and then he's going to play the interview on his show, and then simultaneously we're being videoed, but is it live? That's what I want to know.
We're not
okay,
live
but it
video.
will be on Facebook Live.
We'll put it on video.
And all of you on Twitter can jump in too. How's that?
Well, you know, I guess we were all concerned because when I first heard the news, I knew you lived in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. But you weren't home.
I wasn't home. I was at a dinner party. I was out at a dinner, actually, right in St. George on Staten Island. That's right off of the ferry. So when I in the middle of dinner, then I looked at my phone, and it's blowing up with texts and phone calls of people concerned because they know that I live right near where the bomb was detonated. And then, of course, you know, we were coming to the end of dinner, and we were all concerned, and we just decided to leave. You know, we're a little worried about what's going on there. We have our dog back there, my husband David and I, who you know, David. And then we were stuck in traffic on the Upper West Side for quite a while. On the West Side Highway, I mean, not the Upper West Side, on the West Side Highway, just stuck in traffic. And then the streets were blocked off. The street was blocked off from traffic. We had to get out and walk. They let you walk unless you lived on the actual block, on the actual street between 6th and 7th Avenue on 23rd Street where the bomb had detonated. You couldn't even go, no traffic, of course, and you couldn't even walk there unless you had ID.
So how close is that literally to where you live?
Really just a couple of blocks.
Did anybody, any of your neighbors feel the blast, or were they affected?
Yes, people felt it everywhere. People felt it in the building. People felt it, there were people walking their dogs outside. They were in the parks. And they didn't know what to make of it. They thought it was thunder, some crazy, sonic boom. Nobody knew what it was because the ground shook, too. People were saying the ground shook.
So by the time you got home, what was the atmosphere like?
When I got home, there were lots of police, lots of, vehicles going by. In fact, when we were on the Upper West Side in a cab, the bomb squad came by and they had to clear the lanes. And I believe that's when they were going for the 27th Street bomb. When I got into my apartment was when we got the emergency alert on our phone about the 27th Street bomb. And it said, anyone who lives on 27th Street, please stay away from the windows. There's a suspicious package.
So without saying exactly where you live,
we've never had anything like that, right?
So without saying exactly where you live, Michelangelo, how close then is 27th? Is that also just a couple of blocks away too?
That's maybe a few more blocks, yeah.
So what was the attitude of the people in your building? Were people afraid? Were they frightened?
Not really. I mean, New Yorkers take it in stride. I mean, people were on the street. People were, going about it as if it was, something going on. Just pay attention. And, the next morning,
it's Sunday morning.
Sunday morning,
right.
I get my hair cut every morning at 9 o'clock. My barber is even closer to where the site was, so I was wondering, is he even going to be in? And my street was still closed off. I walked the dog in the morning and went outside. People were walking around. People were, they were doing their thing. I got my hair cut, and my barber was saying, he got in. He had left when he heard the bomb go off as he was driving. He heard it. He had already closed up his shop, but he got in. And then afterward, I walked over to near the site. You couldn't go on that block, as I said. Surprisingly, it was very quiet. There was an eerie calm, I would say, all morning, and it was very quiet even there on that block. Later, there was more activity in terms of police vehicles, and they must bring in different teams to do forensics and whatever. But it was quiet when I was there at, say, 9 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. But it got busier later there in terms of lots of law enforcement, and of course the mayor was there, the governor was there, so there was a lot of security. Mm-hmm. But it's a very odd block for anyone to target, that street, and this is what I was talking to Corey Johnson about, the city councilman too, which is he felt both scary and reassuring at the same time, because scary and reassuring in that it was a quiet block. It's a quiet stretch of 23rd Street. Right, there's no bars or clubs. If you really wanted to target bars or clubs, you'd literally just go right over to 8th Avenue. And there's a lot of bars and a lot of gay establishments and gay restaurants and gay clubs. Or 7th Avenue. There's so many other places or other parts of 23rd Street, but this was in front of a home for the blind. And there's a scaffolding outside, and the bottom of the scaffolding has one of those. It's hard for me to explain this to people who aren't familiar with it, but one of those scaffoldings with kind of a maze at the bottom. It's like a tunnel that you have to walk through. So it's kind of protected from the street. So it seems like an odd place. You'd put this in a dumpster outside of that. Anybody walking that side of the street will likely be protected. Across the street, there's businesses that by that time were probably closed. It was an odd place. And 27th Street, even more odd because it's mostly residential, but the businesses, again, no bars and clubs. They're mostly wholesalers. So reassuring in that they didn't choose a heavily populated area, but scary in that they're going to, it was a target that you don't think about. You think of Times Square, so it makes you think more, well, somebody could target it. Now, we don't know anything about, again, we don't know much about anything. But it is odd
they would target that place. I don't know what there's nothing political about that place. There's no political statement.
It's a home for the blind. Next door is a small bed and breakfast. There is a little bar at the bottom of the bed and breakfast. It's a brownstone. And then next door to that is a church. Everybody was speculating, was it the Catholic Church? Who knows?
Right.
But, and again, we still don't know the motive of this individual or what connections there are.
But it sounds like you and your neighbors, you all are just kind of back to normal. It's just kind of part of living in New York.
Yeah, and I thought, when I read some of the online reports and I looked in on the television, I felt that there was a bit of a blowing up of it, a lot of that, a lot of blowing up of the, oh my God, there's such fear. New Yorkers are doing this and doing that, and it makes people outside think that. And so then everybody's saying, you guys, are you okay? This and that. And you're like, yeah, everything's fine. Everybody's going about their business and, doing their thing. And even Obama said it when the president gave his talk up at the UN, or he was interviewed about this at the UN. He said, the people around here are very resilient. They're not scared. They're not worried.
Yeah. Yeah. And life goes on. What was it like this morning? In the neighborhood
this morning was,
because I know a lot of for me and a lot of other people around. So you got the UN here, you got this, trains were backed up. It was a little crazy, and it's raining.
Yeah,
so it was a lot, a confluence of a lot of drama this morning between the weather and the UN and this. How was it in the neighborhood this morning? People had to go back to work.
People were back to normal, except for on that street was still blocked off. Mm-hmm. But I even think by this afternoon they opened up that street. They've done all their investigation. They got everything they need.
Last thing, do you feel, or does anybody in the neighborhood you think feel like this happened but there's really nothing you can really do about it. I mean, is there anything you can do going even home this evening to prepare for this?
Well, I will tell you this. I thought about a few things.
Okay.
Number one, like because you know the story of that 27th Street bomb. These are pressure cooker bombs, so
right.
it's a pot, right?
Right?
It looks like pot. Now, a man, apparently, witnesses saw a man taking that pot out of a nice bag, a roller bag. A well-dressed man saw a bag on the street, as in New York happens, because if you put a piece of furniture on the street in New York people will take it, right?
Right.
So a man saw a nice bag. He went and he opened it and took this bomb out, this pot, and put it on the floor. He wound up deactivating the bomb. And then he left it there and took the bag. That's number one. So my first thing is, don't take a nice bag you see on the floor. Second thing is, a woman came out then, a photographer who lives in the neighborhood. She came out, who lives on 27th Street, because she heard the bomb on 23rd. She saw the pot, the pressure cooker on the floor, and she thought that a kid's science project was being thrown out. So she was like, oh, that's weird. Must be a kid's science project. And then she went around the corner, looked at what happened. They told her a bomb went off. When she came, and they said, we're searching for others. When she came back, she said, maybe that's not a science project. Then she called the police. So second thing is, if you see a pot on the floor with wires coming out of it, it might be a bomb, and call the police, right? I mean, that's all I've been thinking. Like, okay, when I'm going to be more aware looking on the street.
Right, and seeing what's out there. But you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people are most concerned about. Are you hearing from relatives? Because I went down and I hear from people, are you okay? Is everybody okay? But you're right. I think all of us, we're in New York, we just kind of have to keep it moving.
It's nice that people reach out. I had to post something on Facebook to let people know, because a lot of people were writing me and saying, are you okay?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you are.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, great having you on the show, and I'll be on your show.
You will.
And on Facebook.
Yeah, we'll be, and we're going to post it. This video will be up so everybody can see it, so you all can see Mike speaking in the flesh about his experience on his block, and know that he is safe and well and sound. That's important.
Mark Thompson, make it plain.